Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. So let's talk. I couldn't get the word out, but it's the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube platform where we spend 1,800 seconds together these Tuesdays. And today is Tuesday, February 3rd. Hey, happy Healthy Heart Month. Happy Black History Month. I love the month of February because it's about love, it's about culture, it's about history, and all of those things for me. So I hope that you have already found yourself, basking in the month and easing into the month. 1 month down and 11 more to go, you all. Can you believe it? This year has come in, 1 month is already over, and here we are. And I hope that you all are having a great time. I don't know where you are in what part of the country or the world for that sake you may be in, but I know several parts of the area just got plummeted with snow and ice and all kinds of inclement weather. But I hope that you're safe wherever you are. Just stay safe and warm and don't get out on the streets if you don't have to, that sort of thing. The same stuff that you hear all the time. So if the weather is bad where you are, don't get out in it. There's a remedy. If you can help it, if you can avoid it, just don't get out there in it. Stay home, stay safe, stay warm and stay dry. But again, it's February, Healthy Heart Month, the month of love, Black History Month. So I'm excited about that. Hey, if you're stopping by for the first time and you're wondering what this platform is about or what this guy's up here talking about, I promise you, I'm just here just to offer something that's inspirational, something that's motivational, something that sometimes challenges us to do what? To be better and to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. So if you're here, don't run, don't turn and leave. I need you. I want you to stay here with me just these 1,800 seconds because I'm not going to be long. I want to chit chat tonight about something that I think it's kind of comical, but I think it will help us as well. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment, but before I do, let me just thank those of you who have been with me for a while and have been offering words of encouragement to me via this medium here where we chit chat on, and even through emails. I wanted to say thank you for all the support. We've been doing this now for going on 6 years. Can you all believe it? Going on 6 years we've been here. You all have been meeting here. And isn't it interesting over the years, people who have been with us on this platform, some are no longer with us here in earth and earthly form. And I just think about life and the dynamics of life and the transitions that we endure and that we go through in life. Not just me, but all of us. And it is my hope that through some of our dialogue, through some of our conversation, we've been strengthened just a little more so that we can make it through life's moments. I told someone last week that time does not necessarily heal, but time certainly helps. It helps you to what? It helps you to adjust to a new rhythm. So Color, that was good. Time doesn't necessarily heal, but time helps. It helps you to adjust to a new rhythm and a new way of being. So let's take advantage of what time offers. All right, that's exactly what we will do. Let's see. Time flies. Yes, time does fly. Okay, come on here, Audrey. Time does fly. It certainly does. Wow, the years just go on by. But listen, thank you all. And if you haven't done so, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe. And after you subscribe, then click on the notification bell. I don't know where it is on your device, whether it's down there, up there, over there, wherever it is. Do me a favor, click on it because it lets you know whenever I have gone live or uploaded new content. Let me shout out the 3LTTC VIPs. So let's talk to Cutler VIPs for the evening. Those are the people that I see on my end who come into the chat room first. Now, I see some of you, you haven't made your way into the chat. I do see you on, but you haven't made it into the chat just yet. Come on over to the chat so we can see our friends. But let me shout out those the first three people. Cutler, are you tongue-tied? What is going on? I'm in a hurry trying to get to this conversation because I'm excited about the conversation. But the first three people that I see in the chat are Annie Cutler, who says, let's ride. And then we see there's Audrey Dixon, who says, time flies. And then there's Paula D, who says, hello to everyone. So hello to all of you. Why don't we start this evening's conversation? Remember, it's February the 3rd. Tell somebody, come on and let's talk to Cutler. Come on and chat with Cutler, because the man is really just trying to help save our lives. He's offering practical lessons in a world where sometimes practicality is ignored. Oh my goodness. Offering practical lessons in a world where practicality is sometimes ignored and just thrown out the door. We see practicality. I hope practicality does not become a thing of the past. Heaven help us. But one of the things that I want to talk about this evening is drama. No, this is not a messy platform or anything like that, because quite the contrary. Our lesson this evening is about how to avoid drama, more specifically, how to avoid other people's drama. Now, you all know I get a lot of these lessons from real life encounters, from me just being transparent with you all. Because how many of you all know that people will try to pull you into their drama as much as you try to stay away, turn and go the other way? People will try to pull you into the drama. And honestly, if you are not careful, you will find yourself getting caught up in other people's drama. And then you look around and you wonder, how in the world did I get here? Sometimes, I was thinking today, sometimes we get pulled into other people's drama for so many reasons. And it may be that the reason we get pulled into drama, or the reason we allow ourselves to get pulled into drama, it's more about our own internal needs and less about the conflict that someone is having with another person. You know, our previous two conversations, we talked about how to agree to disagree. But I want to talk about the basis of what we find ourselves trying to agree to disagree about. We find ourselves trying to agree to disagree about drama. But sometimes it's easier not even to get into the space where you have to agree to disagree. Sometimes it's easier to just avoid the drama altogether. Now, why and how do we allow ourselves to get pulled into drama? That's the thing. I'm going to talk about how to avoid it. But before I talk about how to avoid it, I was wondering and thinking about how do we allow ourselves to get into drama? Why do we allow ourselves to get into drama? Sometimes might it be, you all, and working, because I'm only here for 1800 seconds, but let's talk about this thing for just a moment. And you all talk back to me, because I'm wondering if you all can identify with this on your own accord, or just by watching other people. When we talk about why do we allow ourselves, or why do people allow themselves to get caught up in other people's drama, might it be that allowing yourself or oneself to get caught up in other people's drama is a way of creating the distraction from the things that you're going through in your own life? Could that be it? Might it be that getting wrapped up in another person's problem, in another person's situation, another person's circumstance, or another person's drama is really a distraction from your life? So by focusing on trying to fix something that's going on in somebody else's life, or judging what's taking place in somebody else's life, it gives you a chance to ignore the stress that's taking place in your own life. Might that be it? Maybe we have some resolved issues, and we're trying to avoid those unresolved. We're trying to avoid those unresolved issues in our own life. And maybe that's why we allow ourselves to just drift over into the drama of somebody else's life. We need to watch that. Be careful about that. It's about avoidance and distraction. I'm trying to avoid what's going on in my life. I'm trying to be distracted from what's going on in my life. And so I allow myself to be caught up into somebody else's drama. Maybe that's it. Or maybe, just maybe, it's an adrenaline rush. There are some people who just seem to get high off of everything or high off of anything. And some people get high off of other people's drama. So maybe it's like this physiological, this biological thing that happens, kind of like an adrenaline rush. And maybe that adrenaline rush provides a sense of urgency and a sense of living and aliveness, if I can make up that word, that makes that makes for the energy that people like to dwell in. They don't like things to be calm because calm seems dull. But I'm suggesting to us, maybe we get caught up in other people's drama, one, because it's a distraction from what's going on in our own lives, or two, because we just like the adrenaline rush. I've spoken with people who I've never smoked, and I've never engaged in alcohol, but I've spoken with people who smoked and who drank, and I've asked them, "What is it that you get?" Yes, maybe we talk to people who've done drugs and all kinds of drugs, and I've asked, "What is it that you get?" And it seems to me that the overwhelming, consistent answer, or the common thread, is the rush that it gives, the high that it gives. The way of making things feel like nothing is dull anymore. That is the consistent answer that I seem to get. But here's something else. So not only do we sometimes find ourselves going into or drifting into people's drama because it's a distraction from what's going on in our own lives, or because it gives us this high, but sometimes, you all, it's because drama is familiar to us. It's a place of comfort. Do you not know there are some people who function comfortably in chaos? They function comfortably in what we would call dysfunctionality. In those dysfunctional spaces and dysfunctional environments, there are some people who operate comfortably and they feel safe in those spaces. Their emotional systems, their nervous systems just seem to be regulated and conditioned to that kind of space, that kind of arousal, and that's a comfortable and safe space for them. Let's not judge. Let's not judge, because perhaps there's some dysfunctionality that we find ourselves comfortable in, and other people may not even consider that's a space to be comfortable in, or they might consider dysfunctionality, whereas we don't. But we sometimes find ourselves drifting into other people's dysfunctionality, into other people's drama, for so many reasons. To avoid the distraction in our own lives, because we like the high that it gives, and because we're familiar and comfortable and safe in that kind of space. That's interesting. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's somebody that you know. Maybe I'm not talking about you. Maybe I'm talking about somebody that you know. And if that is the case, invite them to catch this replay, or share it with them so that they can say, that is me. And I'm not talking from a clinical perspective. I'm not coming here from that perspective or that angle. I'm talking about what I've observed in life, what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I've witnessed. And there are ways that we can avoid getting sucked into other people's drama. There are ways that we can avoid getting pulled into other people's drama. It's about making sure, Cutler, it is about making sure that you prioritize self-preservation. We've heard it, self-preservation is the first law of nature. We have got to make sure that we prioritize self-preservation. No, I need to take care of myself. No, I need to watch my own life. No, I need to safeguard myself so I don't get caught up in other people's trauma. It's about self-preservation. And you have to prioritize your self-preservation over the need to fix what's going on in other people's lives. Sometimes we are so caught up in trying to fix what's going on in other people's lives until we lose ourselves. We forget about preserving our own lives. I want to offer us just a few nuggets, you all, about how to avoid getting pulled into other people's drama, because we're still at the beginning of the year, and life, listen, ain't nothing new under the sun. We see these things happening over and over. That's why some of these lessons it's important for us to reiterate and rehash these conversations. And we need to help our young people with this, because a lot of times younger people, well, old people too, but sometimes we just get pulled, or we see people getting pulled into other people's drama, and you want to yell and scream at them. But instead of yelling and screaming, offer them some practical guidance and practical advice as to how not to get pulled into other people's drama. One of the things that we need to tell them: make sure you prioritize your self-preservation. What does that look like, Cutler? What does that mean? I can tell you, one of the things that means is to learn how to set boundaries. Learn how to set boundaries. And when we engage in conversations with people, we have to say to people, we have to tell our young people and people in our lives, here's what you do. Here is what you do. You decide your limits, set boundaries, and you get to decide your limits, and you get to clearly define what you're not going to tolerate when it comes to your emotional energy. You get to make that decision. Tell our young people, you get to make that decision about what you will tolerate when it comes to your emotional energy, when it comes to your psychological energy, when it comes to your physical energy. You get to set the boundaries. So you get to decide the limits. And when people seem to sometimes trespass those boundaries, we get to say to the people, no, I need some quiet time. No, I need some space. If a boundary is crossed, you get to remind people. You get to talk about it. No. Here's a boundary that has been crossed. I need the space. I need you to step back on the other side. You get to set the boundary so that I don't get pulled into your drama and your trauma. So that's the first thing. The second thing, you all, listen, I hope this is going to help somebody in terms of not getting pulled into other people's drama. I think here's a space where we find ourselves so many times, and y'all tell me if I'm onto something or if this sounds familiar. There is something that I call a toxic triangle. It is called a toxic triangle. It occurs when you hear information about a person through a third party rather than hear it directly from the source. We call it the grapevine. We call it gossip. How do you handle that so that you don't get pulled into other people's drama? You direct it right back to them. If somebody tries to complain to you about somebody else, about a third person, you should just encourage them. Why don't you go and speak to them directly? Direct what you heard, direct it right back. Why don't you go and speak to him directly? Why don't you go and speak to her directly? Resist. Say with me, resist the urge to negotiate. Resist the urge to fix the problem. Resist the urge to fix the conflict between two other people. Let them resolve their differences themselves. Refuse to be the negotiator. Refuse to be the mediator, particularly if they didn't ask you. Refuse that. And when stuff comes back to you, give it right back to the person who came to you. Have y'all ever heard that a dog who brings a bone will carry a bone too? So refuse that role of trying to be the mediator. And for goodness sake, stop repeating rumors that we hear. Don't engage in the rumors. Don't engage in the conversations where judging people becomes the thing of the day. We all could potentially find ourselves in the pool of public opinion. But resist that urge, you all. So yeah, what have I said so far? Make sure that you learn how to set boundaries. That's one way that you don't get pulled into other people's drama. The other thing is to avoid this toxic triangle. People will try you. They'll try to be slick. And sometimes when they're not necessarily trying to be slick, they offer a de facto situation where you find yourself in this toxic triangle. It's you and the other two. That's a triangle. You and the other two. And you have to make sure that you don't get caught up in the toxic triangle. Oh, no. I'm in this corner of the triangle. And so you want to talk about him or her. Oh, let's bring them into the conversation. Because what's not going to happen, I'm not going to find myself in this triangle where we're just judging people, adjudicating how people, their character and their integrity. No. Don't do that. Just don't do that. And so what does that mean? What does it look like, Color? It means that we need to sometimes just stay in your own lane. Mind your own business. God rest her soul. My grandmother always said, you got 6 months to mind your business and 6 months to leave other people's alone. Sometimes minding your business is what keeps you out of the drama of other people's lives. That is the most effective way to prevent drama from entering into your life. Stay in your own lane, mind your own business, focus on your own priorities, invest your energy in your own growth, in your own stability. Invest your energy. I'm not saying don't try to help people. I'm not saying that. So please don't mistake me. I'm just trying to help us make sure that we don't get caught in other people's drama, and we find ourselves in this downward spiral because now I'm in other people's drama. I'm just trying to help us, you all. Make sure that you avoid giving unsolicited advice and sharing unsolicited opinions, unasked for. That's what I'm saying. They didn't ask for it. They didn't solicit your advice. They didn't solicit your opinions. They didn't ask for it. Don't offer solutions unless you have been explicitly and clearly asked. Because sometimes when you give an unsolicited or unasked for opinion or unasked for piece of advice, what can happen? It can backfire and it will spark more conflict. It would do more harm and more damage than it did good. And you may have had all good intentions in the world, but when you just stay in your lane, you avoid those kinds of things. I stay in my lane. I've learned to stay in my lane. I've learned to stay in my lane, and sometimes because of what I do, because of my training, because of my vocation, because of my calling, all of those things, people will say, I know you have an opinion. I might have an opinion, but that doesn't mean I have to share it. I've learned to stay in my own lane. I've learned to prioritize self-preservation. I've learned to do that. And here's something else that I've learned. I've learned to master disengagement. I've learned how to walk away. Because walking away can be powerful. And it can also be an act of self-respect. I respect myself too much to stay in this situation, in this circumstance, in this environment, in this conversation that I know is not going to do me any good. I respect myself far more than that. I'm trying to help. God knows I'm trying to help save somebody's life, y'all. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Learn how to disengage. Understand how to disengage. Understand what that pull is sometimes. Because when a conversation is turning into a one-sided a rant or an argument, learn how to disengage. Because otherwise you get pulled right into it. Learn how to disengage. Nope, gotta go. What does it mean? Cutler, do you mean you physically remove yourself from the space? Absolutely. Physically, when a situation is escalating, when a situation is turning to something that I don't want to deal with, that I don't want to tolerate, absolutely. I've learned how to leave the room. I've learned how to leave the space. I've learned how to end, I've learned how to end a phone call. I've learned how to conclude the text message. I've learned how to close the email. I've learned how to do that. And so whether it's email, whether it's text, whether it's conversation, whether it's face-to-face, I've learned how to remove myself. If I was sitting in a certain setting, I would say, look at your neighbor and say, remove yourself. But really, we need to learn how to remove ourselves from that, from situations like that. But so, no. Remember what I said earlier? Sometimes we like that. We like the energy of it. That's a safe space. We like chaos. We like dysfunctionality. But I'm telling you, in order to avoid drama, because what happens, you get pulled in it and then your name is muddied. You find yourself in the situation, you get pulled into the situation, and then you're the one that the spotlight ends up shining on. When I was growing up, I have two older brothers. My oldest brother was and still is a clown. My oldest brother could get things started and my middle brother and I would end up laughing so hard. My oldest brother had the ability to get us started, and we were laughing. I mean, just laughing and carrying on. And then my oldest brother would just shut down like he had never said anything. Well, life is kind of like that, and drama is kind of like that. Whereas one person would get something started, and then you are left holding the bag. And when somebody walks into the room, you're the one laughing, and you're the one still, just having the follow up, but the other person is silent, and it looks like you were the one. Doesn't look like the one who started the drama, but the other two who are laughing and carrying on looks like they're the ones who started the drama. Don't get caught up in that stuff, y'all. Learn how to disengage. Now, I just gave that example. That's purely an example. Those were some funny times. I'll tell you, my oldest brother could and still does have the ability to have you in a room and you start laughing, cracking up, ribs cracking, and he just sits silently after he has started this whole comedic route, this whole comedic scene, and is the funniest thing. But that's what drama is sometimes like, you all. Learn how to disengage. Otherwise, you look like the one who started the drama. And how else do you disengage? Delay responding. Every action does not require a response. It doesn't even deserve a response. Sometimes you don't feel obligated to respond, particularly in digital communication. One of the things that you can do before you click send on a text message, write it and read. Delay sending. Draft the email, put it in draft form and read it. Learn how to disengage. Sometimes disengage means to just delay your response. It might even be several hours before you respond, and that's okay. Learn how to disengage. That way you don't get caught up in other people's drama. And then I hope this is helping. Y'all let me know if this is helping anybody, if this sounds familiar. If you know people who need this advice, honestly, tell them, hey, you might want to catch this replay. You might want to catch the replay of this, because something else that you can do, what can we do? We can practice emotional, not only physical disengagement, but what about emotional detachment? What does that mean? You're responsible for your own feelings, not for the feelings of other people. So learn how to practice emotional detachment. Don't take it personally. Because the way a person is, it's an act. The way they act is a reflection of their experiences. It is a reflection of their values. It is a reflection of their perceptions, not yours. So you don't have to become detached to their emotions. How they show up, how they be, how they respond is totally a reflection of them. And here is something that I want us to take to heart. And I might just have to end this conversation here, because this one is something that we may have to chew on for a while. Cutler, how is it that what does it mean? What does it look like to be able to practice emotional detachment? You are responsible for your own feelings. Get that. Say to yourself, I'm responsible for my own feelings. Again, say it with me. I am responsible for my own feelings. You might even have to say to yourself, Cutler, you are responsible for your own feelings, but not for the feelings of other people. Learn how to practice emotional detachment. Don't take it personally. How they respond, how they show up, how they reply, how they act, it is a reflection of them and not of you. It's not yours. So what, Cutler, what are you suggesting? Here is the piece that's heavy, and we may need to chew on this for a while, you all. Learn how to care without carrying. Woo! What does that mean? Learn how to care without carrying. You can be supportive and you can show empathy without absorbing another person's distress or making their problems your responsibility. There are lots of people, there are lots of situations that I care about, but I've learned not to carry it because I tend to be an empath. I feel what other people feel. So I've learned over the years how to be supportive. I've learned how to show empathy without absorbing another person's distress and without making their problems my responsibility. No. My problems are my responsibility. And as harsh as this may sound, your problems are your responsibility. I'm so thankful for people who are in my village and in my community who help me with my problems. But ultimately, at the end of the day, my problems are my responsibility. Say it with me. My problems are my responsibilities. And I'm not suggesting that every misfortune that came into your life, you caused it. But at the end of the day, ultimately, your problems are your responsibilities. Be thankful, be grateful if you have people in your space, in your circle, in your village who help you with them. But ultimately, we have to stand up, look in the mirror and say, you know what? These problems are my responsibility. And I cannot expect other people to take responsibility for my problems. Can I tell you, far too long, I used to let that happen to me. I was such an empath, and I would allow other people and their problems, I would allow them to let me take on responsibility for what was happening in their lives. But no, that's over. Long gone are those days. I still have people that I love, that I care for, who are in my life. And yes, if they're going through something, guess what? I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to be in there with them, and we're going to do this thing together. But I don't allow them to toss everything over on my side of the fence. I may have to pick this up, y'all. I may have to come back to this because I hope, is this helping anybody? Learning how not to allow other people to pull you into the drama of their lives. Thank you. Yvonne Jones says, yes, sir, you are definitely helping me. You know what, Miss Yvonne, and I'm helping myself because we have to practice this over and over and over. Don't y'all leave. I'm ready to go, honestly, because I've given y'all the 1800 seconds already. So I may need to just pick this up and talk about this the next time we meet. The next time we show up in this space, and the next time, honestly, go and get somebody and tell them next Tuesday, come on and let's talk to Cutler. The man is trying to offer us some good advice to make sure that as 2026 unfolds, one, we do what we did the last couple weeks, learn how to agree to disagree. All right, and what are we doing this week and next week? We're going to talk about how to avoid getting pulled into other people's drama. That's what these are life lessons. These are life lessons, you all. Learn how not to get pulled into other people's drama. Let's keep doing what we do. Let's keep building a community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Stay safe, stay sane. And from my heart to yours, know there is and always will be so much love. Until the next time we talk, tell somebody else, come on and let's talk to Cutler. Good night.